Hey. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the Nitty Grit. I am your host, Chantel Denise, and I am so excited to be back again this week, y'all. As you know, last week we've closed our 4C series with my husband. Had a great time with that, but I heard it through the grapevine that y'all wanted more conversation, talk about relationships. So, with that said, I came ready to serve, and this time I'm bringing some of my peeps in on the situation, some more peeps who have some skills in this particular area. So, without further ado, y'all, I'd like to invite a good friend of mine, a sister. She's everything. She's one of the most amazing people you could ever have in your life. She is a marriage and family therapist. Y'all, without further ado, I want to bring my girl, Sean LaRae Brinkley. Welcome to the room, Sean LaRae. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. Boy, that introduction, I love it.
I'm glad you do because it's all so true. How are you doing today?
I am doing well. It's been a great, hectic day. It was my day off, so I got to play a little bit. And so feeling good.
Good. I am glad you are here. As you know, you got a chance to watch a little bit of the 4Cs conversation, right?
Yes, I did. I loved it.
Yeah. So, John and I, we got those 4Cs during, actually, my mother-in-law gave them to us like on the day of our wedding. I think she like pulled me to the side and she just broke these 4Cs down, right?
Love
And
it.
so we've kept them for 25 years. Now, we haven't always done well at them, but we kept
Well,
them. But being that we were talking about, communication, commitment, caring,
yes.
and compromise, that was our series. I wanted to have you come on because I wanted to take like a deeper dive
Mhm.
into this relationship thing, because I think with the 4Cs and having the tools that we've learned of how to apply those, I always think that, therapy is a big thing that is coming about now for a lot of people in relationships.
Yes.
And I want to we'll talk more about that. But before, I would love for you to introduce yourself and give the people a little bit about what you do before we jump into these questions. Is that cool?
Absolutely. So,
Let's
yeah.
go, sis.
All right. So, as Chantel told you, I'm a licensed marriage family therapist, and I'm in private practice in Encino, California. Very excited about that. This level of private practice is new to me because I have a group practice now. So that means that I have 5 therapists that work under me. Yeah, and so in my practice, we work a lot with trauma. We work with children. We work with adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse. So we work with a lot of life trauma and the way that people have sort of been able to manage life after they've had trauma. So we're about
Mm.
not focusing on the trauma itself, but focusing on life after the trauma. So that's the kind of work that we do. We also, of course, licensed marriage family therapists. We see couples, and we see couples premarital. We see couples who are dating. We see couples who've been married for a really long time, and those who are just getting started and want to kind of, you know, get a tune up before they get started to kind of know to go. And then those who have been seasoned in their marriage, like you guys, 25 years,
Mhm.
um, who come in for a tune up. And you'd be surprised. I mean, we have couples who are like grandparents. And, well, look, I'm a
Mm.
grandparent myself, but I mean, like older grandparents, geriatric people come to therapy for couples counseling, y'all. So it blew my
Wow.
mind and it excited me all at once.
I love it. I love that you said that people come for a tune-up. That is a great word, because I think that for me, that means we're never at a place where we've arrived, right? There's always work to be done, because the
Yes,
longer you are in a marriage, the more you're learning about one another, the more you are in a relationship, the more you're learning about each other.
absolutely.
And the minute you stop learning about each other, that's when everything
Mm,
all falls apart,
yeah,
right?
the flags go up. And listen, one of the reasons Wednesday is my favorite day, besides the fact that it is my day off, it is the day that I get to go and get my own therapy. Okay. So even though I work in the field, I am the first one to tell you I would never go to a therapist who didn't have a therapist. Okay,
Mm,
wouldn't do it. Mm-mm.
that's a good point. I like that.
Yeah,
So you believe in that kind of like helping yourself help one somebody else, help
exactly.
yourself help somebody else. I
Yeah.
love it.
What did
I
they use?
love it.
Jerry Maguire, help me help you.
Help me help you.
Yes.
I
My
like it.
therapist helps me help you.
Well, girl, thanks so much for sharing that. I always appreciate what you do because I get to get my little, I'm just throw this out there, y'all. I get my little freebies from her every now and then. I just take them when I get them. So thank you for helping me sometimes. Um,
Absolutely.
well, I'd like to dig a little bit deep because I think there's, some people are opening up to therapy, right? But
Hmm.
there's still a group of people that are they just will not consider it because
Yeah.
I believe they don't understand it. So I
Mhm.
want to have a little, let's talk therapy a little bit about like, can you just even tell us the basic meaning of what it actually is, the root word, or anything you could educate us with? Because I would love for the people that are watching to really understand that.
Absolutely. And I love this whole root word thing that we've gotten on as a result of you and your husband, because when you guys started talking about doing that as we went through the Bible, it like blew my
Mm-hmm.
mind and kind of opened up my world in terms of knowledge of the Bible and understanding it in a whole different way. As I've said to you before, it kind of made it come alive and be in like living color. And so
Yeah.
I think understanding the root of words is so important. And we can then take a look at like where it is now and how we got there, right?
Mm.
So therapy, also known as therapy or therapy, in other languages, and in Greek, the origin of it is Greek, and it's therapeuin. So it means
Mm.
to minister to or to treat medically. And I'll
Ooh.
give you more about that in a few minutes. Then the Greek is also therapia, and that means healing. So already we've got minister to treat, and then the result of that treatment is healing.
Wow.
Yes,
Wow. So
yes.
it's almost like a destination, like you're going
Ooh,
somewhere.
yes, exactly.
Mm,
And, and
mm,
and it's even more so. It is a journey.
mm.
It is
I
not a
love it.
destination per se, because, like you said, we can always use tune-ups. We've never arrived.
Got you. Got you. When
Yeah,
I'm talking about destination, is that you're actually arriving to something that you're
you're
working
going.
on.
You're going somewhere.
Yeah. You're
Absolutely.
going. I love that.
Yes.
Mm. And
So
I
it's
love,
oh, go ahead.
no, I say I love the whole journey aspect of it too,
Yes.
because we haven't arrived. I know
Absolutely.
I haven't.
Okay. Now, other words that I loved when they talking about like the meaning is curing, healing, service
Mm.
done to the sick, and then
Ooh.
awaiting on service. Now look at that.
Mm.
And then to treat medically or cure, it's to attend to do a service, to take care of. And so all of those things, when you look at them and put them all together, kind of sum up what it is. Because back in early 18, and let's see, I get the centuries mixed up, I think it's in like the 18th or 19th century.
Mm-hmm.
That's like even before like Freud. Therapy was the idea of therapy, or psychology was a medical thing. And
Mm.
so it was medical doctors, and it was known to treat sick people. And so they thought that if somebody had an episode of maybe what we would now know as bipolar, or someone who had schizophrenia, they put them all in
Yeah.
this place in asylums, and they put them
Mm.
there. And it was like a medical thing, like they were sick inside, is what the thinking was. And so as evolving, over the time of evolving, they started to recognize that the sickness or the issue was in the mind. And
Mm.
so then Freud came along and started the whole idea of talk therapy, because before it was a medical situation, now it's turning over to psychiatrists who are still medical doctors, but they're medical doctors of the mind. And so as
Got
they
you.
started to work Freud is the one that said it's the stuff that happened before. The stuff that happened to you makes you act out in the way that you do. So,
Interesting.
Freud had some stuff going on about, past sexual stuff and all of that, which
He was something else.
Yeah. Like, maybe not so much, but still he is known as the father of psychology.
Yeah, I
so
know.
It's his ideas that these things that happen to you cause you to respond in this way. Which is all about what Oprah's book and Dr. Bruce Perryman is about. What happened to you?
Yeah, and I think with that he's right on, because you and I, we're living witnesses of things that happen to us, like the fact that you actually work in trauma.
Yeah,
because things happen to us and we respond or react to them or behave, shall I say?
Yes.
So yeah, I totally agree with that concept.
Now, one other thing, you mentioned the word behave. So after Freud came these people, they were called behaviorists, and the behaviorists believed that it was totally physical, that it was a physical, and it was about the physiology and not the psychology. They didn't believe it had anything to do with the mind. And they thought that behavior was about science, and that it had nothing to do with our cognitions, nothing to do with emotions or feelings.
Wow.
And I gotta be honest, in my doctorate program right now, that has been my worst chapter and my worst class. I'm like, no.
You're like fighting, like,
yes.
No!
But I get now why I had to go through that and understand that psychology comes from philosophy. So that's why we have Plato and Aristotle, and they did all this work about the soul and connecting the soul and the mind. So it's fascinating, y'all. I could go on and on and on. In fact,
it sounds like it. It sounds like, well, that's why I wanted you on, because I wanted you to educate people and break some stuff down and get down to the grit with some stuff.
Yes,
so thank you for that. I really appreciate that. I wanted to ask you, and just moving along a little bit in regards to therapy, like, how would you say therapy is like a universal resource for relationships? Because you kind of explain what it is. How is it, how does it help relationships?
Well, because
can you tell me some of the benefits?
Yes, absolutely. So whenever you're in a relationship, you come to the relationship, right? So
yeah.
So everything that you have experienced, been through, done, thought even, comes to the relationship, right? We have our different opinions, our different thoughts, our different experiences. So here's person A comes and they bring experiences of past childhood trauma, maybe abuse, maybe physical, sexual abuse, and all of this. Then we have person B who comes to the relationship with a parent who maybe wasn't attentive, didn't pay attention to them, had no, we call them permissive, right? Whatever you do is fine. Eyes are not on you. You jumping all up and down. Hey, here I am. And they're like, yeah, there's my kid, right? So that kind of a parent. And then neglectful. So now two grown folks come to this relationship, and it's almost like you're in the playground again.
Wow.
Because it's like, well, you said this and you hurt my feelings. Well, you shouldn't be so sensitive. Those kinds of things come out because each of you are coming with different experiences. And so in a relationship, which is a connection, there are things that will repel that connection. And so that can be the things that we bring to the relationship. And so it's important to look at those things. So for a relationship to work, each person has to look at what they're bringing.
Nice. So you feel like sometimes therapy is a good place to work out and be aware of those things. Because sometimes, I would be honest with you, sometimes there were times where my husband was explaining things and I'm like, I just was not getting him. I'm like, you just got to move on, get over that. Like them pat answers,
Yes.
But like what you're saying and what I'm hearing you say is that, we have to be aware of what we're bringing into the relationship. With therapy, what are some, like, if you were to say, like, hey, here's another practical, there's awareness, what other things could you say that therapy could assist some person in their relationship,
Mhm.
like another
Well,
benefit?
yeah. Well, let's go to what you said, right? That
Hmm.
sometimes you weren't understanding what he
Yeah.
was saying, what John was saying, and it was foreign to you. It didn't make sense. So let's say that you know, you're in a foreign country and you don't speak the language, right? What do you need?
Mm.
You need a translator. And so
Ooh,
that's what your therapist can be for you, is a translator, you know?
nice, nice.
You
Oh,
know,
girl, I like that.
yeah, because sometimes, excuse the pun, but I thought William was speaking Greek. Okay, I'm like, what? Huh? What are you talking about? Why he say that? Why he feel that way? You know, and
What you talking about,
what
Willis?
you talking about? And it would be like, oh, because we went to counseling, we definitely
Mm,
went to therapy, and you know, it helped us to understand one another. Because when you're all up in your feelings and in your
yeah,
emotions, you know, there's all this stuff that doesn't allow you to even be rational about it, because you're all living in the back part of your brain, where that's where all the emotions live. Up
mm,
here, where the frontal lobe is, and this is your thinking, your reasoning, your decision making, it's
yeah.
all like done. I'm not talking, because this is all going on back here. And so you
Mm-hmm.
can't get anywhere. You're at an impasse.
Mm. Wow. I love that benefit of being a translator.
Hmm.
Lady, you just hit that one. Y'all hear that? Okay,
Hmm.
y'all getting what she's dropping down? Write that stuff down. So give me one other benefit. This is good. I want to keep on this.
Okay.
What other benefit? You got a translator helping you be aware of what's going on, and someone actually communicating in a way where the other person can hear, because the translator is such a great person. That's a huge benefit.
Yes.
And I love that you use that analogy, because I remember going over to France and I was like, I don't know y'all language. I'm sorry. And they were not happy with
They're
me over
not
there.
happy. They don't like that at all.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so give me another benefit. Like, I just want people to really grab at this, because I think there's been a misconception about what therapy offers.
Oh, absolutely, Chantel. Absolutely. So another benefit is that therapy allows you to look at the other person's point of view, which is very
Mm.
different from understanding their language, right? You just, I don't know what you're talking about. But now I'm going to look at your point of view. But when I'm all up in my feelings again, I'm not thinking about your point of view. I'm trying to get
Mm.
my point across. So
Mm.
when you're so busy trying to get your point across, you miss what might have been a valuable nugget that your partner put out there, right?
Yeah.
But so a therapist kind of is like a referee as well, because you know, they're in the middle and they're saying, okay, so hold on, let's explore what so and so said, you know. And you know how in a game, if you know what comes to mind for me is like
What?
wrestling, right? In wrestling,
Uh-huh.
the referee is like foul play, or you know, no,
Yeah.
hitting below
Yeah.
the belt, those kinds of things. The therapist is like, oh, wait a minute, hold everything. Let's see how
Mm.
we can reframe that. Can you say that a different way? Because I don't think your partner is feeling good about the way you just said that.
Wow. Ooh, good, 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 good. Referee.
Yeah.
I would have, I mean, I've personally had therapy and been in therapy, but I would have never looked at the aspect of a referee. I like that. I
Hmm.
like that, because it's so true, because sometimes you need that person who's going to help you rephrase things,
Yes.
because we don't always come to the table saying things that are beneficial.
Mhm.
Even in the name of telling the truth or speaking the truth, it might not
Yes.
be beneficial at that time. And
Yes.
so a referee can actually help you. So I love the
Wow.
aspect of the therapist being that. Good
Yes.
stuff, lady. Good stuff.
Oh,
Um,
you said one thing real quick that came to mind when you said, when you speak the truth, all in the name of speaking the truth. And as Christians, we're supposed to speak the truth in love, right? You can
yes.
be in love with somebody and not speak the truth in love to them.
Mm,
And
mm,
so that's what's important. And you can and sometimes you can do it and say it in the name of love, you know, and those kinds of things. It's like, I want to help you. But you know as
mm-hmm.
well as I that Harold and Helen say that criticism has no place in a relationship. And when I tell my clients that, they're like, well, what about constructive criticism? It's like, because you know good and well you're not trying to be constructive. You're trying to throw some shade, right?
Yeah. You try to dig deep here. You want to stab it in. Go ahead and make them bleed. Just
That's
push
right.
the knife further in there and make them bleed.
Yes.
That's what's happening.
It's so
That's really
true.
what's happening.
It is so true. And the therapist can call, file, timeout, all those kinds of things, because those things are so detrimental to a relationship. So your
Mm-hmm.
therapist can help you communicate in a way that you can both hear one another,
Yeah,
and that you can respect somebody else's, what their thoughts are. You don't have to agree.
you
You
don't.
do not absolutely have to agree. You're not always going to agree, but you can agree to disagree, and not in the cliche way, like, yeah, well, I agree to disagree, and you walk off huffing and puffing. But
Yeah.
like, okay, babe, yeah, we're just here. I love you still.
Mm, mm. It's kind of like what John and I talked about on our Four C's relationship series. We were talking about how, you know, when you're communicating with someone, or if you're committed someone, you've signed up to come with the person.
Oh yes, the
And so in relationships, what you're talking about is like, we have to actually, in order to be able to experience the best in that relationship, in that session with a therapist working on our relationships, we have to come in there with the mindset of, I'm coming with, because we're coming here together to work things out. But we obviously need some tools, which that's where you come in, because so far we haven't been able to work this out in the way that it benefits both of us.
mm-hmm.
So thank you for that. What do you think, or I mean, I don't know if you have looked into this or not, but I'd love to know what your thoughts are on, like, what are the statistics of a relationship that's successful, of people who have went to therapy versus people who do
Yeah,
not go. Are they in this? Can you drop that a little bit? Because I'd
yeah.
love to
I
hear
actually,
that.
I actually got to tell you this. So marriage family therapy is so part of the newer pieces of this profession, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is why sometimes we have a hard time getting some of the benefits that, like, a licensed clinical social worker gets. To be
Got
honest
you.
with you, a lot of people don't know that when you say social worker, people think of a person that's going to give you resources and that kind of thing, help you
Mm,
find housing, help you find this, or but help you find a therapist, right? But I learned that clinical social workers, that's the key word, is clinical social workers are therapists. And there's a misnomer that licensed marriage family therapists only work with couples or families, and that's not true.
mm.
They're trained to work with individuals, because, as I stated before, anything that happens in your relationship, or in you, happens with you individually, impacts your relationships, right? So whereas we do that, then yes, we can help you with your depression and your anxiety and all of that, because your family is getting a piece of that. Your couplehood is suffering when there's that going on. So in the 80s is about when marriage family therapy kind of got popular, and at that time the statistics were that people who went to therapy were about 50, it was about 50-50. Their success rate was about 50-50. Now, today, with all of the things that people are starting to learn, with all of the things that people are faced with today, and not just the global pandemic, but just, the more toys we have, the harder the game gets. Right.
Mm.
And so as we advance in technology, we found that social media in 2009, when I joined Facebook, I thought, oh, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then when I looked up and I was there for 5 hours and I hadn't done a doggone thing, I was like, okay, wait a minute. Maybe this is a great thing. Yeah. So come up with these great ideas and we have them, and then we learn the benefit, the negative aspects of it, right? And all of those things have impacted our lives, our couplehood. I have couples, young couples, who come in and the way they communicate is via texting or via Instagram. And
Good job.
and are you ready for this? Instagram has caused more problems in people's relationships than
Wow.
than you would ever imagine. Not even, not
Wow.
so. One thing, of course, is the idea of sliding into the DMs, right? But even liking a post, who likes your post? I posted
Mm.
something and he didn't even like it, but he liked the post that he or she, right? So
Interesting.
all of those things have made
Yeah,
me realize we don't know how to do this. This is different. And
it
so
is.
the amount of people going to couples counseling has increased. Therefore, the success rate, though, has increased as well. It would be a shame if more people were coming and it was still 50-50, right? So now about 75% of the people that come to therapy actually have a success rate. And that's what, three quarters. So that's pretty good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Wow. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. Y'all, so you hearing that? Therapy does work. It
Yes.
does work. The statistics show that. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Now, girl, I want to get personal because I always like to get up close and personal with folk about just their own personal journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to ask you, like, as a therapist, and you actually mentioned this a little bit earlier. You touched on it, but I want to go a little bit deeper. As a therapist, personally, I know you have chosen therapy for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
How has it helped you maintain a healthy relationship? I mean, what did you learn from it? How did it help you? What have you learned from it?
Yes. Well, both individual and couples therapy has helped me with my relationship with William when he was here. God bless him. Because I would get frustrated, especially in the beginning when we were like grown up folks, had been grown a long time, and here we come trying to be married and talking about like I'm bringing stuff that this is how I am. This is
Yeah,
it, and I
yeah.
will never forget this, Chantel. You remember when the Milners, our dear friends, used to
Yeah.
have the couples party? And
Yes.
so when I
I
was
miss
seeing,
those.
oh, me too, I was always like, what they be doing up in that couples party? Because I wasn't a part of a couple, right? And so when William and I were engaged, they let us come. And so one of the things, because mind you, y'all, I came into the relationship a spoiled brat, full transparency. A spoiled brat over 40, right? And so I was real entrenched in that spoiled brattedness. In fact, on my first date with my husband, was my husband at the time, our first date, within 20 minutes, he peeped me out. He called me. He said, so you're quite the spoiled brat now, aren't you, Miss Williams? Oh. And I was like,
I remember you telling me that. I
I said,
love
how
it.
does he
I
know?
love
And then I
it.
was like, own it or get mad. I'm gonna own it.
Hmm.
So I said,
Own
well,
it.
so I've been told. So he came in fully aware. But at that event, one of the things that was so funny, somebody said something about like being a partner and helping or whatever. And I said, well, I am never taking out the garbage with the whole neck and
Hmm.
everything. And I
Girl.
remember you guys looking at each other, looking at me and laughing. And Kim said, William, don't worry, we haven't finished working on her yet. So you're
It's like
saying
you came to the wrong party, honey, with all that.
it's totally 100%. Well, y'all, I did end up taking out the garbage every now and then. But here's the key.
Mm.
As I was willing, I never had too much. You know what I mean? And so that's the thing that when I came into the relationship, I had to learn how to get out of my own way
Mm.
and how to let go of all this me space that I was taken up in a room
Woo,
and in the world,
woo,
right? And
woo.
was quite happy doing so, right? But now you are a partnership. So what somebody else thinks matters. How someone
Mm.
else feels matters. What
Say that
someone else
again,
wants to
girl.
do matters. And I got to tell y'all, get a therapist, but also have some real good peeps in your life who will call you out on your stinky, stinky mess. Because I remember these things so distinctly. Going to John's birthday party, John's 40th, and
Mm.
I had not danced with William ever. And so I was not going to dance with him because he wouldn't practice with me. And y'all know me, I love to dance. So I'm sitting there just in my seat, and finally Brick House came on. And I couldn't sit in the seat anymore. Got up to dance with William, and lo and behold, the brother could dance. And I was in heaven, just loving it. We were dancing, and then William wanted to go home, and the party wasn't over yet. And I'm shut it down, girl. And
Yep,
I
you
remember
are.
telling you,
You are.
hey, girl, y'all can take me home. And y'all looked at me and said, go home with your man. I was like, what?
I can't even remember what we told you, but
Yeah. I was
yeah.
like, really? What? But go home.
Mm.
So that was another thing that I had to learn. And it took the therapist to help me see it along with my friends. We went into
Mm.
counseling once, and William was big on housekeeping. He wanted that house clean,
I
and
remember.
I had a housekeeper before him. Okay. So
Woo.
so now here we are. I didn't even know what that was supposed to look like. But what I learned is that was part of his love language, acts of service. Now,
Acts of
here's what
service.
happened in therapy, y'all. And this was great. And sometimes all you need is somebody to release you from your own stuff. And then you can come alongside. Because when we were in therapy, the therapist asked me, well, what are some of the things that made you fall in love with William? And I was like, oh, he was kind, he's funny, he's this, he's that, all the great things. And then she said, I didn't hear you. What did she say to me? I didn't hear you say that he was, oh, what was it? Oh, I can't remember. I think it has something to do with like complimenting me and all of that
Mm.
kind of stuff, like words of affirmation. Um,
Mm.
and then they asked him the same thing. And he said, oh, she's beautiful, she's smart, she's this, she's that, she's the other. And they said to him, William, I didn't hear you say that she was an amazing housekeeper and cook. So it helps with perspective, right? There are all
Nice.
these great things. There are all these great things about him or her that we bring to the table. So isn't it okay if we don't check off every single box?
Ooh,
But
that's a
knowing
good one.
the permission for me to be just like, oh, he gets me now.
Mm.
It
Mm.
actually made me kind of want to do that for him more. I've never been good at it, y'all. I'm just not my thing. But I really get lucky sometimes. You know what I mean?
Woo!
So just
You have the
just having
restaurants love you because you've
girl,
been
they do.
ordering a lot.
Order, bring it off. I'm
Bring
good.
it in, drop it off. Sidebar, y'all.
Yes,
Sidebars.
yes, totally. But I think a lot of it was learning about yourself and learning where you can step aside
Yeah,
and make space for someone else.
I
That's what
love
it
that.
really helped us.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm. I love that. Thank you, Charlotte, because you really embrace who you are with what you just shared. You're like the fact that you realize that there's a lot of you in the room. There's a lot. Yeah, and the cool thing about it is you can carry the room. That's what's cool about it. You actually can carry the room by yourself. But I love how you pivoted to
Mm.
looking at I'm in a relationship. So I there's sometimes I can't just come in there with all of me. I'm
Yeah, guns
coming
away.
with I'm coming with somebody here.
Wow.
I'm no longer single. And that's something for y'all that are watching on Facebook and YouTube. When you come into relationship and you are married, there is no claim for single living. There is claim for individual, like I'm a human, and yes, I can go to the spa if I want to, and I don't have to go with my husband. Yes, you need to do stuff for yourself, but the whole aspect of when you're coming together in that relationship and it's all about you, that's a huge problem. And I
Absolutely.
love that, you went and you discovered that, you learned that, like, okay, this is not going to work here. It's got some shifts got to change. And
I gotta
so
get out the way.
I appreciate you saying I got to get out the way. And that's humility, because a lot of people sometimes don't realize that. And that's why sometimes a therapist is good, because a therapist can help you get in touch with that. I
Mm,
always say, whenever I hear people talking that saying I in a relationship, period, whether it's a husband, whether it's a dating, whether it's with your friend, if the conversation that you're in and I is always dropped, well, I was planning on doing this, and I wanted to do this, and I like this, and I did this. Honey, if that is you, if you're listening right now, you're the reason you may be having problems in your relationship is because the I has to be removed and be replaced with a we or an us in any relationship.
so good. So good, Chantel. Absolutely.
It's like I had to learn that too. And you just shared that.
Yes.
I want to ask you this, like, um you talked about how the things that you had went to, the things that you accomplished in therapy and how they helped you. I want to know, is there any area in your life that you could say, well, um I've neglected taking care of myself in my relationship? Like, is there any aspect of that? Like,
Mhm.
how have you neglected yourself? If you haven't, that's fine. But is there any area? Because I would love for people to know areas where, even in the attempt of being in relationships, sometimes there's neglect of ourselves in the relationship, so it actually makes the relationship a little bit challenging.
Mhm.
You talked about earlier being aware of your upbringing and what you kind of bring to the relationship. Also, sometimes a lot neglecting our individual care
Yeah.
can affect that relationship. So are there any areas that you would say, I neglected this area and it affected my
No,
relationship?
I, gosh, I can't think of areas where I neglected Sean LeRae in the midst of the relationship.
Or
Or I,
any relationship, not just your
yeah,
husband, just
okay.
relationships, period.
Hmm. Let me think about that for just a second.
Oh no, that's okay. While you doing that, I could just share a little bit. I would tell you, I had a couple of relationships that, you know, not necessarily with my husband, not necessarily with my family, but just a relationship in a group, an organization I was a part of, right? And so I basically, the people that I was working with, they were kind of like in charge. And so what would happen is they would just tell me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and why to do it.
Mm.
When, what, and how.
Mm.
And there were things that I knew that it just didn't sit well with me, but I did them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are areas where I neglected my own value system in order to service
Mm-hmm.
them, when I should have stood up for myself and say, you know what, I want to help you, but I can't do that
Yeah,
because I don't feel good about it for me.
got it.
You know what I'm saying? So that kind of neglect. And so I share this because those little moments when we neglect taking care of ourselves or standing up for ourselves, they become little moments into big moments. And so what happened, by the time I had to go and talk to this person, I had a huge stack of stuff that had bothered me.
Yeah.
And so my interaction with them was not a calm interaction.
Uh-oh.
There was a lot of fireworks happening,
Yeah.
right? A lot of sparks, because by that point I was like, well, you know what? I'm actually tired of you telling me what to do.
Okay.
Let's just talk about that. So I won't do that because you are a bully. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Like, it got ugly, but I could have nipped it when I felt that thing inside of me that was like,
yeah.
this doesn't go with your value system. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I learned a lot from that, and I saw that, oh, Chantel, that's actually neglect in
Mm,
this relationship. And
yeah.
it's not fair to that other person, actually, that you didn't self-care yourself, and so you come into the situation, now you're all heated and boiling.
Right. Guns blazing.
So,
Right.
and I think that happens a lot in different relationships because we're
Hmm.
not taking care, we're neglecting that part of us that we know, that inner thing that has happened, we can feel it in our bodies that are like, I don't feel good about this.
Yes. Now,
So that part.
two things. Thank you for that clarification, because that helped me to think of, yeah, definitely. I have been in a relationship. It wasn't a romantic relationship, but a relationship where I was always holding back,
Mm.
not wanting to stir the pot or uh, create conflict. I don't like conflict. Um, but that doesn't mean that I can't face it head on. But there
Yeah.
was something about this particular relationship that I couldn't,
Mm.
and I didn't, and I found that more and more I was becoming resentful, but also feeling like little pieces of me were being broken away, or also feeling like who I was is not okay.
Interesting.
And
Interesting.
so, yeah, so I get what you're saying when yeah, because again, just not walking in my true who you are-ness, to coin my, and that never feels good. It does
Yeah.
not feel good.
Yeah.
And if you
Mm.
and if staying in it too long will actually start to tear away who we are. And so now let's turn that into a romantic relationship.
Mm.
That's a form of being unequally yoked that is outside of the biblical meaning of that, because you are not with someone who brings out the best in you. And that's what, when a relationship is firing on all cylinders, that's what's happening. You're bringing out the best in one another. Somebody is is carrying your feelings, carrying that
Mm.
heart tenderly in their hands, and they're not going to get
Wow.
pushed to it, right? Because they can
Wow.
hear it of you and your heart. They know that they carry it, and you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
that you carry theirs, and so you walk not tiptoeing, just gingerly and carefully. And I, that's
Nice.
pieces that when couples come to see me, sometimes that's the piece that's missing. And I
Mm.
often have to ask couples, do you even like each other?
Wow.
Because this I see, not good.
Not good. Not good. Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate you mentioning it too, that holding back, because that's powerful right there. Not authentically being all of you in this situation
Yeah,
because you are holding back. Oh, good stuff. And that's actually a whole nother conversation. We
yes,
could talk
indeed.
about that part just on its own. But I thank you for that. I want to talk a little bit too about, because sometimes in the aspect of relationships, sometimes when we neglect our self-care or neglect who we are in the relationship, sometimes the other opposite side of that is to have this resistance in our relationships
Mm,
where we don't see that there's any change that needs to be made. I want to talk a little bit about that because, girl, I struggle with that in them early years of the marriage, because I'm like, well, I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to do. I'm
I'm a
doing everything,
right, right.
right? So
So I don't know
let's
why
talk a
he's
little
getting
bit.
it right.
How would you say, as a therapist and what you've witnessed, because I'm sure you've witnessed this where
Oh,
some people are just like, I don't really have anything to change. How
yes.
does resistance affect that relationship? If you had to sum up and give us some specifics of how would resistance affect a relationship?
You know what just popped right into my head? And so I have to say
What?
that resistance creates resentment.
Mm, I love it. I love it. And
Because
I would agree.
yeah, when you are constantly resistant against change, then that person who is the beneficiary of your bad behavior can
Mm,
resent you. They can resent you and still love you to pieces, but resent you for your lack of willingness to come with compromise like that. By the
yeah.
way, just have to say, first of all, love that y'all got those 4 C's. Those are the 4 C's are the best 4 C's. That breaking down of compromise to come
Mm,
with, that was so powerful, because when we think of compromise, we always think of shrinking back, of not getting
yeah.
our needs met, and not, all of those things. And a lot of times, resistance, I believe, is fear of not getting your needs met, not trusting that your needs will be met. So you got to hold fast and strong to this thing that you believe so deeply, when maybe you don't really believe it so deeply. You kind of would like to see, but you're afraid. What if that isn't
Mm,
what I want it to be or hoped it would be? What if it doesn't serve me? And
And
if
that's a good word you're mentioning too, because that whole thing, it's like it's a new wave, because right, I don't remember us talking about stuff not serving us in the 80s
no.
or in early 90s, right?
Mm-mm.
Late 80s girl, but I don't remember us talking these kind of talk. It's like all these new words coming about
Yeah.
it, but you know what people are saying. I've said it, I'm gonna just be honest, y'all. I've said, if it doesn't serve me, I don't want it. Now, here's the thing: when it comes to overindulging and eating so much chocolate where I got diabetes, it doesn't serve me, and I
Right.
shouldn't have it. I shouldn't have it. But when we're using that with people, y'all, in relationships, you got to really ask yourself, what are you saying when you say that? And what are you not embracing about you
Mm-hmm.
in that particular situation? Because and if you're in a relationship where someone has been treating you bad and you're like, well, he not serving me and I can't have that, that the first thing you got to look at, and I'm just going to say this real quick, Charlotte, because the, the Lord has put it on my heart.
Please say
But
it.
you gotta look at, and I'm being real right now. I'm getting to the grid on this. If the person is not serving you anymore, what happened in that relationship? What changed for you? What changed for them? Also, if they've always been like this, and a person has been a certain way in your life, if you have accepted and tolerated foolishness in your relationship year after year, and y'all know, ladies,
Okay.
y'all know when a guy is running game. You can spot
Yes.
it. You can spot it all. But I think some of us, and I have done this in the past, we have tolerated things and allowed things for so long, and then we get to this point where we're like, oh, well, it doesn't serve me anymore. It wasn't serving you from the beginning,
Woo!
because
Woo!
because you knew that that person was not right for
Right.
you. And
Right.
so I just that word, I think we just got to be very careful about when we're presenting it, if it's like almost a resistance
Mm-hmm.
to change for ourselves, because it takes two to tangle in a relationship. It
Right.
really, really does. And I'm not, and as I stated on my other 4 C's, there are some situations that are just horrible, y'all.
Mhm.
There's a lot of stuff that are grounds for, and there's biblical grounds for divorce in certain areas, like infidelity and all of that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. And we know this, right, as Christians. But I know that there are things out there where people are having a hard time. I'm really talking about those situations where people are just all into themselves. They're taking up the space now. It's like, and some of it is because they've tolerated things for so long, and they're sick of being mistreated. And I get that, y'all. But
Right.
there's a healthy way to do it. There's a healthy way, and that's why we're having therapy talk tonight, because some of us need that, y'all. I needed it. I had to turn myself in. I had to
That's
turn
it.
myself in. I needed it. So, what Charlotte Ray and I are talking about tonight. I mean, some of this stuff deserves its own room and space to have a deeper dive in.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to just present that a little bit, because I know that I have been guilty of that in the past, of saying these things because I'm fed up at this point in my life, but I haven't taken responsibility for how I've lived my life and my relationships.
I love that. I love that.
So,
Chantel, that brings me to the statement that I often make. And I have a client who has said, they saw red flags.
mm.
But no, they said, well, it wasn't really, it wasn't a red flag, it was a pink flag. And
I don't care if it was purple. It was a
I'm
flag.
like, wait a minute. No, it was not a pink flag. It was a red flag, and you were looking at it through rose-colored glasses. Okay, so
Mm. Interesting.
there are
But
not
good point.
degrees, right? So it's like, but you saw that coming.
Yeah.
You saw the truck, you didn't get out the way.
Mm.
Right. And
Yeah.
so it is, and it takes me to what you always talk about, worth.
Worth. Our worth.
Yes. Do you believe that this is all you deserve? Do you believe that
Mm.
this is as good as it gets? Do you believe that any man is better than no man at all? And those are the kinds of things that get us caught up into situations that do not serve us from the very beginning. And
Nope.
and you should not be eating up from that plate at all.
Mm. Mm.
It's poison.
Ooh.
Do that. Now here you are, you got a tummy ache.
Ooh, girl.
You got a tummy ache, and ain't no amount of him that's going to fix it. And the
Ooh.
more you dig in, the worse it gets.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to go see the
Good
doctor.
stuff, Charlotte Ray.
You
Good
got to get
stuff.
out. You got to leave it. And and it has to do, I think, that with people owning their need for individual therapy before coming
Yeah.
to a relationship.
Good
Because
point.
what happened to you? I
Yeah.
think a large
That's a
part.
great book, by the way.
Oh my
Great
goodness,
book.
yes, it is.
Great book.
I kind of
Great
feel
book.
like I get like a lot of, when I became a Christian, started studying the Bible with women. That's
Mm-hmm.
when I really got grateful for my daddy.
Mm.
I became even more grateful for my daddy because my daddy taught me game no game, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
my dad, the way that my dad nurtured me and taught me about my value as a
Mm.
young woman, as a little girl, all the way through as a young woman. My dad went to battle for me against the schools when they were fussing at me because I had ADHD and was all over the place. My dad went to battle for me. My mom and dad, they went to battle for me. People
Nice.
didn't have that. And when you don't have that, then you don't know how to battle for yourself. You
That's
have
a
to know that
great point.
preamble. You don't know that you don't have to take that nonsense. You don't know that you're the prize.
Mm.
You're the prize. My dad used to tell me that all the time. You're the prize, honey. Tell the
You're the
boys my
prize.
way or the highway. Caused me a little bit. I had to get it on straight. Like I had to temper that
Yeah.
over time.
He, he
But
taught you well, honey.
yes, and I
He
get
taught you
that
well.
so much. It's such a gift, which is also why I'm so passionate about helping women in their couplehood.
I love it. Thank
Absolutely.
the Lord for women like you who, and the cool thing is you had an example of it. I didn't grow up with a dad, so I didn't have that example, so I appreciate you even sharing that too, because our roots and how we were brought up, some of that stuff is carrying over to how we allow ourselves to be treated, or what we do and how we respond or react. I absolutely love all that you're dropping because this is really, really good stuff. And so, y'all, we almost at our time, but girl, we can continue to go on and on and on.
Thank you.
But I just appreciate you coming on because I think this discussion needs to happen. As we have been talking about relationships, but there's so much more that we could talk about, y'all. And I do want you to leave your handle, Shauna Ray, so where people could find you. But in closing, I just want to know is if there's a golden rule that you can share that would be helpful with everybody to just really edify their relationships, what would it be?
Wow. Let me. Ah.
Anything, because you always usually have you didn't pull it out the bag tonight.
Yeah.
I know you got something else in there, but if there was one thing you could leave the people with that would edify their relationship, like a golden rule that you kind of stand by, that would be helpful for everyone, yes. I would love to hear it.
100%. I just thought of it. Recognize, if you're a woman, recognize that you married a man. And if you're a man, recognize that you married a woman and you're not the same.
Ooh.
You think differently. Your brains work differently. So don't expect your partner to think the way that you think or to do things the way that you do them. You're different people. You're different species. Right. And so even in that, like, there is an amazing, and you've seen it, there's an amazing video. It's called The Tale of Two Brains. Couplehood, you have got to watch it. Google it on, or just put it on YouTube. Watch the 13-minute version until you have really a lot of time. It's a 2-hour thing. I've never seen the whole thing myself, but the 13 minutes and a few seconds one is so valuable because it talks about the difference between a man's brain and a woman's brain. So don't expect your husband to talk to you all day, all night, and want to giggle and go, that's not you don't do that, right?
That's not what he does.
No, they grunt. They say, When your husband does that, it doesn't mean he doesn't love you. It doesn't mean he's not listening to you. It means the game is on. Leave him the heck alone. Right?
Good one, Shauna Ray. Thank you.
That's all
I'm gonna give you a hand for that, baby.
So clarify. When you have a thought, clarify it first in your own mind, and then before you blame him or her, clarify, is that what you meant? Because chances are it's not what they said. It's just how they said it. Right? Nice. And so it's important to know that difference. You're different. Thank God you're different.
Thank God.
Yes.
Good stuff, Mama. Thank you. Well, y'all, that is our time. Good stuff, Shauna Ray. Can you leave them really quickly where they can find you and follow you?
Follow me on Instagram at living, like I am living, loved with an ED healing, at Living Loved Healing. DM me, follow me, get some mindful minutes, more relationship stuff. Oh, Boss Talk. And join me on Boss Talk on Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. on YouTube and on Facebook. And the Facebook is at Living Loved Healing as well. Thank you,
awesome
Chantel. Love you, girl.
Thank you so much, sis. I appreciate you being on here with me. I love you to pieces. I love you to pieces. As always, y'all, thank you, Facebook. Thank you, YouTube. And as I say to you all the time, make it a great day because you can. Peace out, y'all. Thank you for watching. I appreciate y'all.